What's up, Spud Nation? It's time. Fantasy football quarterback rankings. I love it. I'm excited. The season is right around the corner. We have to get our draft boards ready. I want you all to be prepared, be ready, and be able to dominate your fantasy football drafts. Hey, this is where it all gets started. No need to buy a magazine. Follow along, take my information, rank your players how you want to rank them. I'm just here to give you information, my projections, my rankings, and you go from there. Quarterback is going to be a very important position this year. It's a pass-happy league, pass-driven, quarterback-driven, and that means fantasy football points galore. Make or break it, win your Super Bowl here. Alright guys, I also have some questions. I appreciate all the emails. I took some questions that I got from you guys. I'm going to be talking about those today. This is all about you guys, all about you, Spud Nation. So here we go. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, hit me up on the YouTube site or email me, Craig@thesportscoach.com. I'm here to answer any questions you may or may not have throughout the entire season. So let's get started. First question, coming in through YouTube, Maurice Jones-Drew, AJ Green. Those are my keepers. I inherited a keeper league team. I love your keepers so far. AJ Green, I have him ranked very highly. I love what he can do, especially on the keeper side of things. And Maurice Jones-Drew, one of the few running backs that is all by himself. No running back by committee in Jacksonville, although it is Jacksonville, but still, he gets the bulk of the carries. He gets all the carries, actually. So, two very solid starters. And not to mention, this guy walks into having the #1 pick in the draft. It's a good situation, my man. I'm happy you took over that team. The question is, who do I take with that first pick in the draft? Guys available: Trent Richardson, very intriguing rookie out of Alabama. Fred Jackson, Matt Forte, and Cam Newton. Hands down, no questions asked, Cam Newton is the guy you take. It's a quarterback-driven league, like I just said. Cam Newton is an absolute freak. In poker terms, you put all your chips in the middle and you go with this guy. Cam Newton, one of a kind, can beat you with his legs, throws the ball extremely well, has a solid #1 receiver. Cam Newton is your guy. Good question, my man. How do I feel about LeSean McCoy? Another question I got. Well, I feel like he's the top running back on my fantasy draft board. So, enough said about that. We'll talk more about LeSean McCoy when we do the running back breakdown. Another question in here. Victor Cruz, is he worth more than Hakeem Nicks? Well, some latest news on Hakeem Nicks. It looks like he will play in week 1. So all you Hakeem Nicks owners, don't worry about it. His injury looked like he was going to keep him out for a while. He is ready. It looks like he's going to be playing week 1, going to be starting. That's a rough injury to come off of. Feet, you never know what's going to happen with those. But Hakeem Nicks is a very exceptional weapon on a pass-happy offense. Then you look at Victor Cruz. Came out of nowhere last year, put up tremendous numbers. So I'm looking at Cruz and Nicks as a wash. You're going to be good with either one of them. Hakeem Nicks, he's a red zone target. That's what gives him added bonus with you guys. But Victor Cruz can always take one to the house. Touchdown from anywhere. He is Manning's, could be his favorite target. So if I had to flip a coin, take one of them, I would take Victor Cruz. He just looks like he has that home run ability, and according to last year, Eli loved throwing him the ball. So great question. I got another question from Beast You1. What round do I draft RG3? 12-person league. You know what? It's all about feel. All about what you feel RG3's value is, and also what the structure of your draft is looking like. You could have people go quarterback crazy really early, fill up their starting quarterback needs, and you can wait a while. You can wait to take RG3 later in the draft. Or, you know what? You rank RG3 extremely high on your board. don't be afraid to go out and get him round 4, round 5. I think RG3 is going to have a fantastic season, and people always stretch on draft day to bring in rookies on their team. It happens in every league. People are extremely excited about a player coming in from college, so they might overvalue what RG3 is. It's all about how you feel about RG3. I think the talent is there. I think he's got some nice weapons around him, and I think he could put up some nice fantasy football numbers. So there you go. Tom from YouTube had a sweet draft. Got Tom Brady, Doug Martin, Jahvid Best, C.J. Spiller, Daniel Thomas, Kevin Smith, Rashard Mendenhall, Julio Jones, A.J. Green, Santonio Holmes, Ruben Randall, Hayward Bay, and Brian Quick. Hernandez is a tight end, Lions D, and the Nuge for his kicker. I love that you got Tom Brady. You're gonna hear more about him soon. Doug Martin, love him. Also, the rest of your running backs, my dude, you're gambling the entire way with your running back core. Jahvid Best, concussion man. C.J. Spiller, who knows what his role is going to be with Fred Jackson back. Daniel Thomas, I loved him last year, but as you can see, Reggie Bush was the man. Kevin Smith, at least you have a backup to Jahvid Best. That's a solid draft selection there. And Mendenhall, who knows what he's going to be or if he's going to play this year off that injury. Your receivers, I'm going to tell you right now, I love your receiver core. Julio Jones, absolute stud. A.J. Green, I'm in love with. I think he's going to have a monster year. Santonio Holmes, I hate his quarterback, but he puts up numbers. Ruben Randall is my sleeper at wide receiver this year, one of my few. I think that guy could be an absolute monster for the Giants. Hayward Bay, he's a Raider, enough said. And Brian Quick, he is going to be the #1 fantasy rookie at receiver this year. There's no reason he shouldn't be. He's going to be the #1 in St. Louis. He's a huge target. He's got a ton of tools, and you know what? Great draft selection on your part. Tight end solid, defense solid, kicker, you're going to get points no matter what. All in all, a decent draft, my man. Tom, you're looking good, man. Tom Brady, always leading your team is a great start. So well done. You're going to have to keep an eye open on the market for running backs. So your running backs, total roll of the dice throughout the season. But good start. Another question, OC Cheesehead. Michael Bush, what's his value after Matt Forte signed? Well, Michael Bush is going to have value no matter what. He signed a big contract. The Bears like him a lot. Forte is not much of a runner between the tackles. He is excellent at catching the ball and running along the outside. Michael Bush is going to be your guy. He's going to be at the goal line. He's going to pound it in. He's going to punish people. And I think his carries will be significant, 15 to 20 throughout the game. Forte is going to get his. I could see his carries being less than Bush's, but Forte's catches will be way up. I like what Forte brings to the table, but I think Michael Bush has immense value to the Bears still. And last question, new viewer, Jason. Appreciate the question, my man. Aaron Rodgers, #1 overall. Definitely, no question in my mind. You'll hear about that in a minute. Fantastic quarterback, pass-happy offense. He does it all. Also, the value on Forte, Welker, Jordy Nelson, BenJarvus Green, Ellis. You're going to hear a lot more about these guys as we break down their positions. But I'm going to tell you, Forte, pass reception leagues has value. Welker, same thing. PPR, a lot of value. Jordy Nelson, his touchdowns are going to go down this year, but I mean, give me a break. He's got the #1 quarterback. He's the #2 receiver. He is going to put up a lot of points. And lastly, BenJarvus Green, Ellis. I love his new situation. You'll hear more about that when we break down the running backs, but I think Green Ellis is going to be a steal in all your fantasy drafts. So there we go. Those are your questions. I appreciate you guys asking. Keep them coming in. Email, YouTube, anywhere you got it, hit me up. Quarterback breakdown here. Projections and what they did last year. #1 quarterback, in the league. Aaron Rodgers, pass first offense, great receivers. They don't have a running back, so they don't hand the ball off much. Rodgers gets in the goal line. If he can't throw it in, he's going to run it in. Rodgers is going to give you a lot of points, and look for him to be right up there in the top 5 in scoring in the entire fantasy league. Last year he put up 4,643 yards, 45 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. My projections, he's going up in numbers. 4,900 yards, 50 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. Look for Rodgers to be an absolute beast this year. If you have the number 1 overall pick, you pick Aaron Rodgers. No questions asked. He is your man. He's very durable, and you know what? You got to love his offense. Aaron Rodgers, number 1. My number 2 quarterback, and what should be the number 2 guy off your board, Cam Newton. Carolina Panther quarterback, came on the scene strong last year, had an incredible rookie campaign, over 4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, over 700 yards rushing, and 14 touchdowns rushing. I think his numbers are going to increase. Passing-wise, 4,300 yards. I'm looking at 31 touchdowns by this man, 815 yards rushing. And I think his touchdowns are going to go down just with the increase at running back, but I still say 10 touchdowns rushing. Cam Newton does it all. He can beat you any way possible, and this guy is a must-have for your fantasy team. Tom Brady, looking at over 5,000 yards last year, 39 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. I love Tom Brady in a situation. They could be up 40 points. The hoodie is going to have them throwing the ball and putting nails into people. Brady has ice in his veins. He can come back. He can win you ball games. Brady is a fantastic player. I have him as my number 3 player overall off the board. Tom Brady, just a stud. I would have him number 2 if he ran in more touchdowns, but he throws enough to give him that number 3 value. I'm looking at Brady this year to have 5,200 yards, 44 touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Another tremendous year from Tom Brady. My number 4 quarterback, Drew Brees, New Orleans Saints. A lot of question marks surrounding the Saints with their coaching problems, but Drew Brees is a coach on the field. He can make any pass. They throw the ball early and often throughout the games. I'm looking at Brees. They have 5,300 yards, 43 touchdowns, and he's going to accidentally fall in for 1 rushing touchdown. Also, another guy you should take in the top 5. Matthew Stafford, Detroit Lions, came on strong last year. It's about time. This guy is a stud if he can stay healthy. He showed that. Last year he threw for over 5,000 yards, 41 touchdowns. I'm looking for his touchdowns to drop off only by 1 touchdown. He's going to throw for more yards. So look for 5,100 yards, 40 touchdowns. He's got the best receiver in the game on his team in Calvin Johnson. Stafford, a top 5 player in my book. And rounding off the top tier of quarterbacks, I'm squeezing Tony Romo in there in the top tier. He's got weapons galore, tons at his disposal. I feel like I could go out there and throw for 4,000 yards with the Cowboys. Last year, Romo, 4,184 yards, 31 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. Look for 4,300 yards, 34 touchdowns, and again, that lowly 1 rushing touchdown. Tony Romo, he cuts off the top tier quarterbacks in the league. Next, we have Eli Manning. He'll start the 2nd tier of quarterbacks. Manning drops a little bit in value. They get towards the red zone. They hand the ball off. This year, 2 very sturdy running backs behind him will take away a little bit from the touchdown passes, but Manning still last year almost threw for 5,000 yards. He threw for 29 touchdowns. Look for this year 4,800 yards and 32 touchdowns. Peyton Manning. This was my biggest question mark throughout all of my rankings. What do you do with Peyton Manning? One of the greatest, if not the greatest, quarterback to play the game. He didn't play last year. one wicked hit, and I feel like his career could be over. He's playing with an offensive line that they didn't give Tim Tebow, who's a very mobile quarterback, a lot of time last year. Manning's going to have to be very quick. His receivers are going to have to get off the line extremely quick as well to keep this old man intact. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. 4,100 yards, 30 touchdowns. He's got good receivers around him. Yeah, they're a young core, but very talented. And Peyton Manning seems to make everyone around him that much better. Number 9, Jay Cutler. Yes, that's right. Chicago Bears quarterback snuck into my top 10 last year. He only threw for 2,319 yards, 13 touchdowns. Injury killed him. But I'm looking for this year to be a big year. 3,900 yards, 28 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. I love the weapons around him. That's my main thing. He's got Kellen Davis, a humongous tight end, Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall, 2 gigantic receivers, and of course Matt Forte to swing the ball to. Cutler's got weapons at his disposal. Again, it's a pass-happy league in general, so look for Cutler, the old gunslinger. He'll throw his interceptions, so if you're in an interception league that takes points away, be wary about that. But other than that, I love Cutler and I love his weapons. Number 10, Matt Ryan, Falcons. Last year threw for a little over 4,100 yards, 29 touchdowns, 2 rushing. This year, look for him to throw for about 4,095 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. Again, Tony Gonzalez getting older. He's a big red zone threat. Also, they have a running back that they can hand the ball to who takes away touchdowns from the quarterback. Just something to keep your mind on. Number 11, Big Ben. New offensive coordinator this year. All you Big Ben lovers are going to appreciate that. It's a pass-happy offense now in Pittsburgh. Offensive coordinator loves to throw the ball. Big Ben should be able to fling it all over the place. He has good weapons around him, solid receivers, and their running game is going to be a big question mark. So, look for an increase. Look for about 4,200 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown out of Big Ben. Number 12, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Buffalo Bills. Last year, threw for 3,800 yards, 24 touchdowns. Look for an increase. 4,000 yards this year, 27 touchdowns. Watch the interceptions in Interceptions League. This guy flings it anywhere, and he's not afraid to try and squeeze it into tight spots. He's got decent receivers around him as well. C.J. Spiller, they're going to look to include him a little more into the receiving game. So, nice weapons around Fitz. Phillip Rivers, number 13. You thought I forgot about him, didn't you? Well, Phillip Rivers started out extremely slow last year. Look for it again this year. I feel like Ryan Matthews is going to be the centerpiece of that offense. They lost their number 1 receiver, and now they're going to kind of lean on Robert Meacham this year. So we'll see if Meacham can step up and be a number 1 guy. It has yet to be proven. Last year, Rivers threw for 4,600 yards, 27 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. I look for a major drop-off, 4,100 yards, 26 touchdowns out of Phillip Rivers. Number 14, Josh Freeman. I know, last year, quite the disappointment. I'm looking for him to rebound nicely this year. Last year he threw for almost 3,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, ouch, and rushed for 4 touchdowns. They reloaded, they got some receivers in there, they got a better running back in there. Tampa's offense is ready to go. Look for him to throw for about 3,700 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns. It's going to be a new and improved Freeman. He'll do what he did 2 years ago. So keep an eye on Mr. Freeman in Tampa. Number 15, Andy Dalton. A solid rookie campaign with almost 3,400 yards, 20 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. The Bengals went out and added another weapon at receiver. He's got 2 phenomenal receivers, a new running back, a nice tight end, and I look for him to throw for almost 3,700 yards, 26 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Number 16, Matt Schaub, Texans. Rough year last year, injuries, just didn't go well for the man. almost 2,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. I look for this year Schaub to kind of rebound. He still has nice tight ends on his team. Andre Johnson, of course, is a great receiver. I look for 3,600 yards, 25 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Number 17, Michael Vick. 2 years ago, you guys remember Mike Vick? He probably led a few of you to the Super Bowl. I know that he was a fantastic pickup for a lot of the guys that were asking me questions. Vick last year, only 3,300 yards, 18 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Vick was under attack all year long, just a rough season. He has yet to play a full season, so look for this guy to miss games, so be prepared for a backup plan with Mr. Vick. I look for this year to be a pretty good year though, 3,500 yards, 22 touchdowns, and I look for 3 rushing touchdowns out of Mr. Vick. It's nice to have the league's top running back on your team in LeSean McCoy. Number 18, Alex Smith. I know a lot of you 49ers fans are very excited. All the weapons around him. What are they going to do this year? It's still the same 49er team. Defense first, run the ball second, and let Alex Smith possibly throw a couple passes throughout the game. They don't want this guy to lose games as opposed to letting Alex Smith win games for them. So last year, Alex Smith, 3,100 yards, 17 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. I look for an increase in numbers this year. Just based on the weapons around him, he's got the skill. They might loosen up the reins a little bit. I'm looking for 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown out of Alex Smith. Number 19, this is where RG3 comes into play. I give him the benefit of the doubt because Rex Grossman was able to put up numbers with Washington last year. And I think RG3 is 100% better than Rex Grossman. So I'm projecting a very big year out of the rookie. 3,400 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Huge numbers out of the rookie. Giving him the benefit of the doubt, rolling the dice. And I love his keeper value. If you're in a keeper league, a lot of value here with Mr. RG3. Number 20. I'm handing the job over to Jake Locker. I know he hasn't won the job yet, but Tennessee's quarterback position. I love what Jake Locker can do. I love what he brings to the table. He's gritty. He'll take hits. He'll run the ball. He can make nice throws. And Tennessee has pretty nice weapons on the outside. I'm looking for Jake Locker to go 3,100 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 5 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, rolling the dice. I like it. Keep an eye on that in training camp, though. He's in a battle with the old wily veteran Hasselbeck. 21, Matt Flynn. Again, a quarterback battle is a brewing in Seattle. Russell Wilson and Matt Flynn are going head-to-head. I think they paid Matt Flynn too much money to not let him start, at least at the beginning of the year. So be careful if you get Matt Flynn on what could be a little later on in the season. If Matt Flynn starts every game, I'm looking at 3,100 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Joe Flacco at number 22, Baltimore starting quarterback. Last year put up 3,600 yards, 20 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. I'm looking for identical production this year. Yeah, he's got some young receivers coming up. He still has Ray Rice, the best in the business. I just look at Baltimore. They're not really a pass-first team. Play defense, run the ball, and punch you in the mouth. That's what Baltimore's all about. Flacco just falls in there. He makes the big throw once in a while, but he's not a starting quarterback on your fantasy team. 23, Matt Castle, Kansas City Chiefs. You talk about a team with a lot of weapons on offense. The Chiefs are it. Keep an eye on the quarterback battle. Should be Matt Castle's job to have, but we'll see. I'm looking at 3,000 yards, 19 touchdowns for Mr. Castle. And number 24, the phenom in Indy, Andrew Luck. I'm looking at 3,100 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Good keeper value here. When they start surrounding him with more weapons, his value will go up. It's hard for a rookie to be successful, and especially in an offense that doesn't really surround you with the best weapons you need. It was nice of Indy, however, to go out and draft his #1 target from college and bring him in, so Luck has that luxury going for him. Again, good keeper value. He's definitely not a starter in your fantasy league. He might be a nice week-to-week fill-in when you need a guy. This is the rest. The rest of these guys, keep an eye on. They could be on the radar. Brandon Weeden, Cleveland, no weapons. Sam Bradford, Rams. Again, has never set the world on fire. I like the rookie receivers they brought in. So Bradford, he might have late round value as a flyer for you guys. Kevin Kolb. You want to talk about a guy who has the best, well, one of the best receivers on his team, and Larry Fitzgerald. They bring in a nice rookie. It'll be interesting to see what they do with their offense. Is it going to be a pass first? Is it going to be run first? What are they going to do? Can Kevin Kolb even win the starting job in Arizona between John Skelton and himself? Keep an eye on that battle in training camp. This is definitely not a bad flyer to take on a quarterback coming out of Arizona. Christian Ponder, you poor bastard. The Vikings are not going to be very good. Ryan Tannehill, it just gets worse. And Blaine Gabbert, my goodness. None of those last three guys should have a prayer this year. Keep them off your squad and enjoy the benefits if someone else does draft them. Yikes. Good luck to anyone who takes them. And my wild card at quarterback is Tim Tebow. He's not the prettiest passer out there. He's not the best quarterback in the league. He went to a team that already has a quarterback who obviously I'm not that fond of. Didn't talk about him at all in this entire show. I think Mark Sanchez is in for a world of hurt. They brought him in, set him up just to be taken down. A very difficult schedule at the beginning of the season. Tim Tebow's name is going to be chanted and chanted often. What's New York going to do? It's going to be a difficult choice for them not to put Tebow in when the Jets start the season very slowly, a lot of losses, and Mark Sanchez is struggling. There you have it, Spud Nation. Keep an eye on those lower tier quarterbacks. They could sneak up and help you guys win a Super Bowl. Till next time, I'm out.